Mr. Begley, members of the board, we have several items for board discussion this evening. Our first item for discussion is our book study. This is our last book study discussion of the school year. We will be discussing chapters 7 through 9, pages 145 to 187. This time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Begley.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We finished up the book. Thoughts, comments, prompts?
I thought one of the most impactful things I read was on page 158, the whole section about validating another person's opinion and being able to separate opinions versus a person and be able to take their opinion and validating from them even if you don't agree with it necessarily. And I think that today's day and age, that's a very hard thing for most people to do. And it definitely can separate a lot of personal relationships that people have. And so I felt that was really impactful and insightful to read about.
Yes, and along those same lines, in that very section, I highlighted people marry their opinions.
Yeah.
Right? It becomes often difficult when we're married to our opinions. I'll throw one out on page 147. He talked about parroting. And I'm in sales in my day job, and parroting to me has always felt like it was scripted, right? It was a technique that I didn't often think about using. But he made a very good point that parroting keeps your emphatic listening honest, right? And it's true. And as he went on to explain the rest of this chapter, there's a lot to be said for actually following those steps and making sure, right, to move forward, making sure the other party knows that you've heard what they've had to say. So it's got me thinking about that a little differently.
When Ms. Birding was talking about the rewards and that whatnot, the part where he was talking about people throwing bombs in a conversation, that really struck a chord with me because I work with somebody that likes to throw bombs on people all the time. Like, you know, you'd say something, they go, that is the dumbest thing I have ever heard, and then you're like, okay, I'm done listening. Now I'm reading the microphone. But yeah, and it seems like in the day and age of social media, bombs are everywhere. Like you can't watch a cute little video of a dog without somebody going, it's so stupid that you posted this, I'm dumber for having watched, you know, and they're all over the place. So, and then another part on page 160 where he said, if you cannot get inside another person's head and figure out their motivations, then you will never understand anyone who thinks differently from you. And that also seems to be something that kind of gets, you know, happens a lot. Nowadays, people just dig in so far, and I do it sometimes too. You dig in so far with the way you think about something that sometimes you have to step back and go, wait a minute, let me look at it from this other person's perspective and really think about it in their shoes to understand, you know, why they think the way they do.
And yet, as he talks about in that 1700th of a second, you've already decided to react.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's tough. Other thoughts?
I'll share a few, and that both of them are related to some of they're not exactly what you shared, but very similar. On 146, he says, it's amazing to me how often people can have an ongoing conflict, yet neither side fully understands the other person's point of view. It happens all the time, and I think it just reinforces the importance of taking the time to listen, taking the time to try and understand and also acknowledge. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to agree, but you're willing to hear that the other person out and acknowledge that person's point of view, and certainly make sure you at least understand what the point of view is. The second one is on 149, related. If we do not take the time in these situations to also acknowledge how the other person feels, we are telling that person that their feelings do not matter. Those of you that know me well know that I'm a feelings guy. I know, no comments from the side over there, or from you, Nancy, for that matter. But you know, that's important, that the person that you are trying to work through, you're trying to solve problems with, they understand, again, you may not necessarily agree, but their opinions matter. You know, that you're acknowledging how they feel about that particular problem, even though you may not have the same opinion. And I think that's important, and I think it's something that gets lost, you know, and has been lost for a while. So.
Thank you.
I think at one point in here, and I can't find where I marked it now, he said something, wherever you go, you always take yourself with you.
Yes.
And that reminded me, I kept thinking in my head, like, that was a country song. I swear that was a country song. And sure enough, I was actually right. I remembered it right. I can't find my keys half the time, but I can remember that. It was like, wherever you go, there you are. And, yeah, he was talking about, you know, if somebody wants to quit, they want to leave, they don't like the way things are, that's fine, but they're going to take themselves with them, their problems, or, you know, you can't run from yourself very far. So, and I really enjoyed the stories he said about Frank and Rita, and how he explained how he used the verbal cheat process with both of them, but really presented as how can I help you, while he was still showing them that the way they reacted was wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great to have that kind of real-world example at the end of the book, as you walk through the steps and that real example. Anyone else? All right, then. It was an excellent book. I enjoyed this read as much, if not more, than some of the other ones even. So, again, a big hit. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, usually I pass the praise along to Mrs. Ogg. This time I'm going to pass it along to Mrs. Gundry. So she actually suggested this book maybe 2 years ago, but we had already had one chosen for last year. So I actually did a study with the small group at work last year and enjoyed it. So I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it as well.
Great, thank you. Yes, very good.
Thank you.
All right, our next two items for board discussion will be covered by Mrs. Ogg, EL program staffing and student fees for the 23-24 school year. I'll turn it over to Mrs. Ogg.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Begley, members of the board. My first item for board discussion tonight is about the need to hire an EL teacher to serve students in grades 9 through 12, including students in our new SLIFE program. You remember in February, Kim talked about the restructuring of the EL tutor program, and we talked specifically about tutors that night and a potential cost savings of approximately $530,000 over the course of 2 years. That number took into account the addition of an EL teacher to serve the freshman school and the senior high. So the addition of this teacher does not affect that potential cost savings number. So tonight, I simply just need a head nod from you to move forward with that posting.
Yeah, we're in agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. My second item for board discussion tonight is student fees for the 23-24 school year. We do this around this time every year, and you can find a copy of those in your board packet. Thankfully, there's a plus sign this year, so you can maximize the font and actually see what I'm talking about. Mrs. Post-Pischel has worked diligently with building principals and department chairs for several months on student fees. As with other years, the majority of the fee changes were a result of our curriculum adoptions in grades 6 through 8, and this year those were in grades 6 through 8 ELA and 9 through 12 math. So I'm just going to quickly highlight some of those changes. Most of them were pretty minimal, whether they were increased or decreased. The change was nominal. So first, let's start with high school. You do have 3 different links in your board packet. So the fee increases will be in red, decreases are in green, and in the case of 9 through 12, new courses are highlighted in blue. So we had a few fee increases, just a couple of dollars for pre-CC Plus English 10, Algebra 3, and pre-calculus. along with an increase in the senior graduation fee. And I do want to highlight this one. That fee includes like cost for the diploma. The diplomas now have to have little seals on them, and each student has to earn a minimum of 2 seals. Now, each student will get all of the seals that they earned in a little envelope that they can put on their diploma. But there is a cost associated with that, so we had to increase the senior graduation fee as a result of that. Fee decreases, again, in green. Advanced Algebra 2, this was probably our most significant decrease, from $32 to $6, and that's because they are no longer using a program called MathXL. So both the sociology and street law courses also decreased, again, very small, just $2, but that was to bring them in line with other social studies classes. And then the courses highlighted in blue, both discrete math and essentials of algebra, are new courses, and you can see the fees associated with those, $10 for discrete math and $6 for essentials of math. For middle school, grades 6 through 8, all of these changes were related to the ELA curriculum adoption, and all were related to the change in novels in each one of those courses. So you can see that we had fee increases of $2 to $3 for 7th and 8th grade ELA classes, and then decreases of $1.50, $2 for the 6th and 7th grade ELA classes. For elementary, we just have one change, and that was in 4th grade. So in 4th grade, they get recorders. They get to keep those. So I'm sure parents love it. But there is...
cross buns.
So that is why the 4th grade fee is $66, and the rest of the fees at the elementary level are at $60. So this concludes my item for board discussion, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
I would just like to say, in these inflationary times, I think it's great that any of these are going down, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
We've been able to maintain what is going up, and it's minimal.
Yeah, it's great, and I have to kind of give a shout out to Debbie Facina. She really knows how to shop around and bargain hunt and to get us what we need. So she does a great job of finding us the best prices so we can, keep those student fees low.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I was just going to comment what Brian said, that it's pretty astonishing that so minimal were increased this year with all the extra and inflation we've had recently. So thank you guys for your hard work.
I didn't realize that the seals were actually, physical, seals that went on the diploma, and I think it's pretty cool, that's a nice little thing that they can display, so.
Just being good stewards with what we're talking about right now in this season. It's good to see some of these stay the same, go up a little bit, not much, but decrease too, so thank you.
All right, up next, we have the proposed master contract with the Fairfield Classroom Teachers Association, effective June 30th, 2023 through June 29th, 2025. This time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, Mr. Bagley, and members of the board. Under letter C, items for board discussion, number 4, proposed master contract. I'd like to take a minute to thank those who served through this process. Thank you to those administrators and team members who gave a significant amount of time to this process. I would also like to thank the FCTA for bargaining in good faith throughout this process. Please let me share with you some of the highlights of the negotiated deal. There is a 2% raise for each year of the contract, which I would like to point out was what was in our 5-year forecast, so we're happy to be able to reward our teachers with that. The duration of this contract is 2 years, which is unique for us, given our history with the FCTA, but we are unable to certify that 3rd year right now due to our current financial outlook. We have changed some language in the section about adoption, and we've added some language to include for those parents that may foster children. We've also increased sick leave for those employees eligible to take sick leave, to take for an adoption for up to 30 days for children that are 5 years or younger. We also updated our language for RESA to meet the state's updated requirements. Some background, RESA stands for the Resident Educator Summative Assessment. It's always changing through ODE, and this meets the requirements, which is now a 2-year program, and that's the big change. When it first started, it was a 4-year program. So those are just some of the highlights. Again, I'd like to thank everyone that was involved. It was a smooth process. I think we both gave where we needed to give, and both had some wins in there. So that's all we can ask for in a process like that.
It really is. Board member comments?
You did a great job when we, recap. It's good to hear that it was good camaraderie, if you will, I guess. The negotiation went smoothly, so that's good to hear.
I know these are never easy, so I commend all of you for who was involved in that. We were able to get through this and come to an agreement.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you to everybody involved for working and putting your heads together and coming up with a workable plan.
Thank you, Dr. Rice, your team, and really everyone on both sides of the negotiation for this going so smoothly. And I think it's just another example of the excellent culture that we've got going here at Fairfield. The teachers understood where we were at, and it all worked out. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would just like to point out, as Dr. Rice mentioned, he thanked the efforts of the FCTA, and I don't know if you've ever met our union president, but she happens to be here this evening, Megan Taylor, the Fairfield Classroom Teachers Association president. So I wanted to let you know, introduce you to her.
Thank you,
Megan.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's right.
All right, up next, our last item for board discussion. May 4th, 2023, we have a scheduled Board of Education meeting. Mr. Begley and I had some discussion about giving some consideration to canceling that meeting. And I think the plan is to discuss that with the board, so I'll turn it over to Mr. Begley.
Sure. Mr. Smith came to me really as I was coming to him to say that I couldn't make that meeting, and neither can he. So we're certainly still able to have the meeting if it's the will of the other 4 board members, or in this case, we'll let the 3 of you decide. Or we could simply skip the meeting and move on with the second meeting that we have in May.
That is correct. We don't, things could change, but as of right now, we have one presentation for that evening, and that is an update from Aaron Blankenship, our athletic director, about our athletic facilities. I'm sure that we could reschedule that if the board would like to cancel that meeting and just have our next meeting on May 18th.
Thoughts?
My speaking thoughts, I think it's would make sense probably to reschedule if Mr. Blankenship is able to reschedule and doesn't mind doing that.
I agree.
Yeah, same here. But when do we do Golden Apples? Is that the second
It is
meeting?
May 18th.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. But I mean, it's not like rescheduling would make
No,
that
we don't have
yeah.
any, like I said, the only presentation we have that evening is that athletic facility presentation, and as of right now, I don't have any items for board discussion for that evening, so, not that that wouldn't change, but I just don't think that there's anything pressing at this moment in time.
Okay.
In fact, we're still going to have one more board meeting before graduation, before school's out, so.
Yeah,
You okay with that?
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Does this require a vote, or?
I don't believe so.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right.
As long as the notice gets sent out.
Sunrise and the weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Clemens. Good point.
Okay.